Pick your path. When servant leadership must shift to directive leadership. After my pick your path of looking at the need or looking at the difference between servant leadership and directive leadership, I had some leaders say, well, what do you do when you know you're at that place where you must shift from servant to directive? Because the reality is, even the best leaders and the best team members are going to face times when what's worked before is not going to continue to work or something about it needs to change. So today I want to talk about really what could be a hard shift of moving from empowering through trust, servant leadership, to stepping back into a more direct coaching or instructive leadership. And how can we do it with empathy and clarity and really with effectiveness? So let's review the why. All right. So there are some common triggers, something that I mentioned in that video, and you can go back to the playlist and look it up. But I talked about where you get a new system, like a switch over on a CRM or a major shift where skills are no longer possibly relevant or they won't work the same. So this is where the process that the seasoned team member has no longer, they don't have mastery of it because it's new. It could be a change in organizational priorities or structure. It could be sometimes just a drift in performance or engagement that requires course correction. And I want to say this, that if for the leader listening, even if you're just leading yourself, pay attention to the drifts where you have allowed yourself to get into self justification of just enough or quiet quitting. And, and quiet quitting, which is happening in organizations, you can quiet quit on yourself. Here's the most important thing in this section that I want to just point out. Leadership is not static. Great leaders adjust approach based on what their people need or what they need, not on yesterday's. So here are steps for how you can shift from servant leadership to more directive leadership. Number one, you got to prepare for a crucial conversation. So you want to approach it with respect and honesty. Avoid assumptions, try to maintain a calm approach. You want to be clear. It's not about that trust is lost, it's about adapting to new needs. So, an example of what might be said here is, hey, you've been operating at a really high level, and I trust you. So, since we're heading into some new territory, I want to talk about how I can best support you as we navigate it. You want to be able to set that mindset by affirming the past performance while framing the shift that, hey, we're in a partnership. This isn't about punishment, it's about partnership. Step two, ask over tell. So important. So many leaders struggle. We just want to go into tell mode. But when you ask over tell, you can gauge the readiness for moving to directive leadership. A question that you could ask is, how are you feeling with this new responsibility, new system, new process? Or where do you feel most confident and where do you feel maybe least confident or a little uncertain might be a different way of saying that. I love this question. What would support from me to you look like right now? And in all of these questions, it's important that you ask the question and then be quiet so that you give them the space to actually respond, because their answers are going to help you to determine how directive you need to be and for how long you need to be directive. Step three, set clear expectations and a timeline. This is so important. You got to be specific about what success looks like. Provide clear direction. It could be training steps. You want to set short check-in or checkpoint times. That's going to help them regain confidence. You might say things like, hey, over the next 30 days, let's just work more closely together. I'm going to try to provide more step by step support where it's needed. And then we'll just check in weekly to review progress. And what I do with my team, those are called personal conferences. And if we're going through a season where there's a shift or a change, we just have those personal conferences more regularly. Another thing you can say is the goal is to help you feel confident, leading independently again as soon as absolutely possible. And by the way, it never hurts to ask what type of check ins would feel most helpful. Could be weekly, it could be bi weekly. I had a client that we agreed for a season, I would do Monday through Friday check-ins. I set an alarm on my phone daily at a certain time, and I would text, okay, how did it go today? Allow that person to give you the valuable feedback you need. Step 4, lead with empathy, not micromanagement. Okay, so you want to stay positive in feedback. You want to focus on growth, not gaps. You want to celebrate wins, and do them, celebrate as quickly and as visibly as possible. And you want to do things like it's a constant reminder, hey, this is temporary. We're working to set you up for long-term success, because remember, directive leadership is not an enemy to servant leadership. Directive leadership done right actually can help you build trust and build capability within your team member. It doesn't have to erode those things. So, my challenge to you is to remember, leadership isn't about sticking to one style. It's about serving your team best by knowing when and how to shift, how to communicate it, how to support them through change, because change is inevitable. So, where do you need to make a shift with someone on your team or yourself? And how can you lead with clarity and compassion and courage? Today, pick your path and lead them forward. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, executive business coach, corporate trainer, keynote speaker, and international best-selling author of Pick Your Path. For a deeper dive into topics just like this, be on the lookout for my newest book, Pick Your Path: 21 Days to Set Your Leadership on the Right Course.